Welcome to Women of a Certain Stage, the podcast redefining how we think about menopause. I'm your host, Lauren Chiren, a passionate advocate for breaking the stigma and empowering individuals to navigate this transformational stage of life with confidence and clarity. Here, we're diving into a new era of menopause support, featuring expert advice, real-life stories, and actionable insights. Whether you're curious about building your personal menopause plan or you're looking to make an impact, you're in the right place. Let's embrace the change together. So I'm really excited about having our chat today, Jo, because we haven't seen each other for a little while, and I would love to know, just to kick off, a little bit for people that are listening, to let them know about who you are. What's your background?
So I started my career back in the 80s for a life insurance company, and it was meant to be I've left college and get a job. And 39 years later, I find myself still working in financial services, actually having really enjoyed it, and most of the time, and have had loads of opportunities, met loads of people from lots of diverse backgrounds, travelled as well, been lucky enough to do that, and worked with some fantastic teams of people. But I have always had an interest in people and leading teams, and I think as a leader, it's always been the people first, because if you get things right with the people, then the business side of things will follow. So that's always been my kind of mantra. And I knew that potentially there would be an opportunity for me to step aside from my role. I started to feel it was I was going to be ready to do that. And so then I started getting interested in the menopause space, having kind of had some experiences myself. Not the worst experience, but also not the best experience, I suppose.
What type of roles were you doing in financial services?
Leading really large teams of people, mostly operational. I did quite a lot of different things over the years. I was really lucky. Some bit marketing and policy type stuff. Also risk and compliance, and my last role actually responsible for about 450 people operationally. So got pretty big, quite stressful. But really diverse. So
similar. I mean, I didn't have the longevity that you had in financial services, but I was leading global teams again, sort of 450 strong, and working in the regulatory and compliance space, which comes with its own risks and challenges as well, for sure, with too many deadlines sometimes and too many regulatory reports. So Friday nights were always quite spectacular, trying to make sure everything was done and dusted on time, and the numbers all crunched and all came and said the same thing, which when you're working on legacy systems, I think can be really challenging, because when things have been built, a number of years ago, and all of a sudden you're trying to get information off of one system and then collate it with another system or many other systems, there's a real knack in that data analysis. So, but anyway, I think we've come a long way in data handling over the last sort of 10, 20 years, and hopefully things are much better than when I was working in it. So talk to me a little bit more about the menopause aspect. You said, you had your own experience, but maybe not so bad. What was it that made you think you wanted to do some work in this space? What specifically drew you to doing this type of work?
Well, I obviously been said about my kind of philosophy around people all through my career, and I've done a lot of mentoring and coaching of people through work, and I always enjoyed that side of things. I've also had a leadership coach myself. I was really fortunate to have a really great coach for several years. And I have for a while thought, actually, I think once I feel it's ready to, time to step away from a fully corporate job, I think this is where I potentially would like to go. So I started exploring coaching opportunities, qualifications, what sort of coach could I be? And probably about this time last year, where I was sort of thinking, I'm going to be able to step away from work. What does my plan look like? And I am a bit of a believer in what's right for you will find you. And I happen to be scrolling around on LinkedIn, and I saw your, started to saw your page, and thought, that looks interesting. And then saw some advertisement for the next cohort, and thought, the next cohort's in March. Oh, that could really work. I spoke to my husband and said, "Oh, look, I'm really interested in doing this." And he said, "Menopause coaching, isn't that a bit niche?" And I thought, darling, 50% of the population go through the menopause. I don't think it's niche. And he's like, "Oh, okay." And so I contacted you, went on one of the sessions like the pre-sessions that you ran, to find out all about it, and then we had a bit of a chat, and I just knew that actually I think this is something that I want to do. Started chatting to a few other people, mostly women, who went, "Oh wow, you'd be really good at that," and that's a really important topic. So that's kind of really where I got to. And I thought, well, look, I've already got all this experience of menopause, myself, and so that's how I kind of came to be in it.
Yeah, I'm very delighted that you joined us to do that and you trust us to deliver that for you. I'm curious, talk to me about that whole shift though, because from your own cohort that quite a few people do make that shift. They may not be as advanced as in they've actually left their job already, but they're thinking along those lines. They're in a corporate career, they've been there for a long time. They see this as their next step, as potentially something they can do. They've got more flexibility, they've got more say over how they run their own show, run their own day. But what does it actually feel like going through the thought process of stepping away from a career that you've been in for that length of time?
I felt like I was I'm going to walk off the side of a cliff without without a parachute or anything, some sort of rope or something. It did feel really scary. And then I summoned up my inner coach, and thinking, look, I've done a lot of this when I've made work, changes, career changes, and this whole kind of what's the worst that can happen, right? This is a course. I'm going to learn more about coaching. I'm going to learn more about menopause. I've got an opportunity to help people and educate people. And the more that I researched and read and listened to, the more I realized actually that there's such a lot of knowledge and education in this space that's really lacking. And so imposter syndrome and all that. Oh, can I really be a coach? And it was, I think, just summoning up that, look, Jo, think back to, and it's all the principles that we learn on the grow model that we use, isn't it? Think of a time, one of the questions that we had during those sessions was, think of a time when you've succeeded at something. Think of a time when you've used all these resources that you've got. And I think that's what I did, and thought this whole thing is really, I've got to go with my gut instinct, and haven't regretted it. I'm moving out of being employed and having my whole kind of week structured around meetings that other people want you to go to, and reports that other people want you to write. That's been weird. But I filled my time with, as well as the course, I filled my time with other things as well. And I found it, again, it's really been useful to have certain things during my week that's kind of grounded me and set a schedule. And then I've then been able to fit in other things around, 3 or 4 things a week that have been booked in advance. It's going okay.
Yeah, and I think that's really common, isn't it? When you've had so much structure and you're at the behest of other people's demands, that the time comes all of a sudden it's like, well, don't need to get up at X o'clock on Monday morning and get suited and booted or whatever it is. And how many months is it now since you've left work?
4 months.
4 months. And how do you feel 4 months on?
I wish I'd done it sooner. Um, I,
Brilliant.
good. I've had some time to spend on myself.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I followed the coach. I followed the. I'm a big believer in practice what you preach,
Yeah.
and that's what I've been sort of
Mm-hmm.
saying to people about the menopause program. Practice what you preach. So
Mm-hmm.
I followed it, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily religiously. I followed it. I've made it
Yeah.
work, for
Yeah.
me around me, and I feel better. I'm sleeping better. I am thinking more clearly. I've lost weight,
Mm-hmm.
and I do, having completed the course, and I got my certificate a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I've got a bit. I can, this sense of achievement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and some of it, having stepped away from a really stressful job,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's been all the program has been responsible for how I feel, but a big part of
Yeah.
it. And this was my opportunity to spend some time on
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm glad I've done it.
Yeah, and I think so for anyone listening that doesn't know what we're talking about, as part of the 18-week Menopause Coach Diploma, within that I take all my students through the 7-week menopause coaching framework, which is called the Menopause Plan. And that helps my students or my potential coaching clients look at every aspect of their life and look at what are the teeny tiny 1% changes incrementally that they can make to help them, I guess in some ways just get back in touch with who you really are, and what are the best decisions you can make for your health and well-being going forward as well. But definitely we know from the program that there's a big link between cortisol and menopause experience. And so if someone's very stressed and the cortisol is very high, that can exacerbate symptoms as well. So if you take the job out of the equation, then definitely I think there's going to be a level of, you've got a sense of control back in your own life. You've got, hopefully, although I know from our previous chats that you had a lot of other things going on as well, and you've definitely managed to fill your time. And there's always many things at play. And I think one of the things when people say to me, how do I know if it's menopause or not? We know that it's complex, and stress plays a big role, sleep plays a big role, our menopause hormonal changes play a big role, but so does all our lifestyle choices. So everything that we decide about what we're going to eat, what we're going to drink, what we're going to do movement wise, how we're going to ask for help and support, all of these things play a role in how we experience menopause. And that they're the kind of central themes of the menopause plan. And I think 100% nobody applies it rigidly, because it'd be impossible, because none of us lead that kind of perfect life where we have that textbook thing that we're doing everything right all the time. It's impossible. So I love the fact that you've taken that on board and you've seen some of the benefits from it. So going through the program, what were your kind of key takeaways from being in your cohort specifically, and then from the program more generally?
I think that it was the cohort was brilliant, and the support of all the other ladies in the program, and I've made some new friends because we've met up outside, practiced, and there's a couple of ladies that live quite locally, and so we've been able to get together as well. I touched on the whole thing about the education side of it and how that seems to be lacking, um, and the knowledge that I think I've taken away, things that I just didn't know. I'm 57, right? And I didn't know that there were 4 stages to your menstrual cycle. Now, was I missing? I had pretty good school attendance, and so I don't think it was covered in biology when I was at school, which I know is a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've asked around a few other of my friends and people and said, did you know? And most of them, I would say 9 out of 10 of them have said, no,
Yeah.
tell me more about that. So it's this awareness that education has been lacking for us
Mm-hmm.
women in the past, and actually, it still
Mm-hmm.
is. I think other takeaways have been that are these small changes. So the hydration in particular, I thought I was drinking, a reasonable amount of water. And I've noticed how much more water I really need to drink, but I feel so much better. The brain fog is, really gone. And then the diet, the nutrition side of things. Again, I thought we ate pretty healthily, but I didn't realise that my kind of obsession with chocolate was driven by the more chocolate you eat, the more chocolate your body wants. and it is back to your point about making small changes, and nobody lives this perfect life. But going through the program and looking at the nutritional side of things, it's helped me to be much more aware of how my body feels and why it feels like that, and I can make decisions. I can make decisions and think, well, look, life's not very interesting, is it? Isn't it? If you can't do things that you enjoy, so go out for a nice meal. But think about it beforehand, and then think about it afterwards, and make healthy choices. And I do little deals with myself, well, we're going out at the weekend, so I'm going to eat this for a couple of days, or I'm not going to have this, but so that I can have that. And I'm finding that that's really working, and my skin's better as well. I feel more energetic. So I've been exercising more. I also, I know I've never been an exerciser. I'm not a gym person, but I do swim. But there's the three aspects to the health side of things. There's the cardio, the strengthening stuff, and the flexibility stuff. I've taken up yoga. People that know me, that listening to this, are like, seriously, yoga? But I'm really enjoying it, and it doesn't have to take up 2 hours out of your day. I've been to a few yoga classes, and now I've taken a few movements away and kind of made myself a 20-minute thing that I can do in the mornings.
Amazing.
Several times a week that I can do at home. So
I love it. And I think, I think for me, and when you're coaching somebody in the workplace, just by believing in somebody, by helping them feel calm enough to truly be honest with themselves about the thinking processes they're going through, the decisions they're making, and actually allowing them the time and space to just reconsider. Because we don't tell anyone what to eat on the menopause plan. We have a process that we encourage people to go through to find out what foods work for them and don't work for them. And I think people find that often, when I speak to people before the program starts, like, well, what do we learn about nutrition? I'm like, a lot. Okay, so we get diet plans. I'm like, no. And people can't get their head around it until they actually do it and they experience it. But I remember when I first was invited to do it myself, it was just so powerful. And I learned a lot. And recently I've learned even more, like milk is now no longer my friend, and nor are eggs, which are two that are, yogurt and eggs are staples of my diet. So it's been very interesting this last few weeks trying to reconfigure, because our bodies change and we adapt and things don't stay the same. So fortunately, I'm not talking about allergies or anything like that, but I'm just noticing that there are changes when I eat certain things. So it's fascinating. It's something I continue to do every few months. I try and do it with every cohort, because it's quite interesting to find out if things have changed. So you had a really strong cohort, and I think there's a lot of people connecting outside, which was fantastic. And obviously, I'm saying obviously, anyone listening won't know it's obvious, but you've stayed together post the course as well and continue to stay tight with each other and collaborate together. What are the kind of key things you're looking to do with this going forward? How do you see you utilizing the information? Because obviously you are an incredibly skilled, talented and experienced leader with huge years of experience under your belt. So this is just another string to your bow. It's not like you've become a menopause coach. No, you've just added menopause coaching to your existing skill set. So how do you see yourself blending all of this going forward?
I would like to use my knowledge and skills to help predominantly other women to have the support that, because if I'd have known some of the stuff that I know now 5, 6, 7 years ago, it would have made my whole journey a lot better and made me feel more confident. I think the imposter syndrome really took hold of me in the last few years. And the level of anxiety, because I had a lot of anxiety about my health, why certain things were happening, and the whole anxiety thing, which we know is really common during the menopause. So I would like to, knowing what I know and having had that experience of being in a senior corporate world, and particularly financial services, it's changed an awful lot, but it's still really male dominated, let's face it. And so I see myself being able to help women who are in similar roles to me, because I've been there, because I understand where they're coming from. And I'd like to help men as well. I think it's quite underserved. The men don't know what's happening to the women in their lives, and lots of the women don't understand what's happening to them. So how can the men possibly understand what's happening? And I think that's a fairly underserved area that I'd like to look at more. So I'd like to coach women on a one-to-one basis, and I'd like to continue my coaching journey and further develop my coaching skills. I think this has been a really good springboard to do that, really good basis to do that from, and do my bit for raising awareness and and education around the subject as well.
Yeah, and I think, having a financial services background as well, I noticed that since I left, which I just realised I'm coming up again to my 12th year in Women of a Certain Stage, about to enter year 13. So 13 being my lucky number, I'll be fascinated to see what the year ahead brings. But I do notice, especially in the last 2 years, that the most senior of women leading financial services firms cannot get away with anything. Male leaders seem to be able to have a few discrepancies going on, and they tend to get managed or swept under the carpet. And a woman comes along and has the tiniest of discrepancies or the biggest of discrepancies, but on par with a male colleague. I am out of the industry now, but do you think that's still prevalent?
I feel as if it is. Speaking from my own experience, there's a lot more judgment. I think it's still also, there's this whole kind of positive bias. Oh, well, she's only got promoted because she's a woman. And that's incredibly difficult. If you overhear something like that, it doesn't do much for your confidence and your self-esteem. And it's by no means all the time and every person or every company, but there is still definitely, it's still a man's world. And there is a lot more pressure, there's a lot more expectation. And also we're not realizing, I think, as well, a lot of women of our age have still got children, late teens, child, son and daughter, wherever, at university, and I have got very elderly parents. I think they call it the sandwich generation, don't they?
Yeah.
That's definitely. And so you've got a responsible job, very responsible job. You're going through this. I've started calling it the hormone apocalypse. That's my tagline on LinkedIn. The hormone apocalypse. You've got a teenager who might be doing maybe A levels or
Mm-hmm.
struggling with a university degree and struggling to make their own way in the world. And then
Mm-hmm.
you've got parents whose health is failing, and that's upsetting to
Yeah.
watch for anyone. So there's all this stuff
Mm-hmm.
going on, and you've got somebody at work going, well, she only got promoted because she was a
Yeah.
woman. It's not. It's just this kind of perfect storm of everything
Yeah.
that
And
comes
it's
together.
interesting, yeah, because at the point I was contracting for most of the time, and then I went perm, and we won't talk about whether that was a good or bad decision, but I did go perm at the level above that I'd been at. So it would been one step to director. And what was interesting was I had no desire to go any more senior, because I knew that as a sole parent with a child with lifelong medical needs, that I would still have to find a way to balance both, and that is constantly going to be a juggling act. And I knew that it just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to be able to do that. I would have had to have had someone full time to look after my son. The absent husband, if you like, or the absent wife,
Mm,
if you
mm,
want to look at it that way, in order to be able to do that. And I wasn't willing to make that sacrifice. Anyway, menopause came along and took it out of my hands. I thought I'd early onset dementia. I left my job, and the rest
mm.
is history. But I do think that things are changing. I think you're right. Things are changing, but there is still a long way to go. And one of the reasons that I love having these conversations is because knowing that you've got such a senior background, you've worked in financial services, and you want to work in menopause coaching, you've got the absolute antidote to be able to help women at that stage who probably don't want to be talking about it very loudly, who probably discreetly want to be able to contact someone like yourself and have a conversation and have some sessions and be able to figure out how they're going to navigate their way through without it coming along and biting on their heels or having them feel like the rug's been pulled from under their feet. So this is why I do what I do, right? I mean, I love running Menopause Coach Diploma Program. So you're just about to go off on some travels, I believe. Is that right?
I am
Yeah.
off to Australia
So,
to visit my daughter who's over there teaching.
oh, amazing. Which part of Australia?
So they're in Melbourne, so
Oh,
we've
lovely.
got some friends in Adelaide as well. So we're
Mm,
doing a bit of a trip,
a tour.
just
Fantastic.
for a few weeks. Yeah.
Excellent. And when you were in full time work, would you have had the flexibility and freedom to take that length of a break and the peace of mind around it?
Just we did it once before,
Yeah.
for sort of a special birthdays,
Yeah.
and we actually did a month long trip.
Oh,
But
fabulous.
yeah, it doesn't come in, especially when you work in corporate at that level, there isn't really any such thing as time off. Uh, and it's the effort that goes into having being able, planning
Mhm.
and getting ready to be able to step away, and then what you get greeted with when you come back. And a lot of my
Mhm.
colleagues will say, oh, it's really not really worth taking a holiday, is it? Because you do all these extra hours before you go, then you're never really signed off when you're
Yeah.
away. And then when you come back to,
Mhm.
2,500 emails, something ridiculous. And that in itself is pressure and
Yeah.
doesn't give you the opportunity to allow yourself to actually enjoy and get the benefit
Mhm.
from time off with your
Yeah.
family, doing nice things,
Yeah.
because of the constant pressure of having to be on duty all the time.
Yeah. So when you think about, setting up your business and getting running up and running with that, and when you come back, how do you think you're going to set up boundaries for yourself so that you build a successful business and you also start having the right boundaries and keeping the responsibilities where they should be as opposed to leaking into other areas of your life?
So I'm going to set aside certain times of the week that are, no, I'm not going to have client meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and be really, be really clear about, not just, well, I said try there, didn't I? Uh, Not try, be really clear.
Yeah.
These are the days of the week and the times during those days which I
Mm-hmm.
will meet with clients. These are the times, days during the week that I won't do that,
Mm-hmm.
and no weekends. My husband's still
Yeah.
working Monday
Mm-hmm.
to Friday, So no weekends. Now that might change when he's no longer working and I want to offer flexibility to people.
Yeah.
But at the moment, no, I will, these will be my set times. And also this is my set number of clients as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Now, if that means that I get to a point where I say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any space to take on any more clients at the moment until I finish with some, I'm kind of quite an all in or all out person as well. So when I'm working with clients, I absorb quite a lot of it and want to really be there for them and be available for them. And you can't do that if you've booked in 30
No.
people in 3
No.
days.
No.
You just can't do that. And
No.
your clients won't get a very good experience and I'll be
No.
exhausted and get burnt out.
Yeah.
So I've put some thought in around that. And look, that's what's been really good about the diploma as well, because
Yeah.
the the planning and the business side of things and how to organize ourselves and all that sort of stuff, that's been really good as part of the course too.
And I think I put a wee Brucey bonus in at the end of last week as well. So there's some more information there for you too. I always love adding extra bits and pieces in. I think that, that's really interesting listening to you saying, when I'm working with them, I want to be all in or all out. And there's something else you said before that about ring fencing your time. And it's really interesting because when I first started coaching, I believed I had to be available for my clients when they were available. And it took me 2 or 3 years to turn around and go, no, I'm a mum. I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a daughter, and whatever else. These are my working hours and ring fencing time. And as soon as I did that, what I found was when I was speaking to new clients, they were very happy to fit in with the available slots because they wanted the work. And we don't get other people. We're not going to find a hairdresser that's going to work at 9 o'clock at night on a Monday night because that suits us. We know that they're open Tuesday till Saturday typically, and I think that we just have to remember that one of the reasons for doing this work often is because we're trying to set our own agenda as well, and we want to lead the type of life that perhaps we have not been able to do for quite a long time because we've been dancing someone else's tune. So yeah, I love the fact that you've got that ring fence in as well. And the other thing I think as a coach is sometimes we are available for clients in between sessions and emotionally available and make that connection. And other times we're not. And there isn't a right way to do it. It's just about who we are as a coach and how we choose to show up. So I love that you've shared that too.
I think one of the most important things I probably learned in my leadership roles was you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
I.e., you need to look after yourself before you can look after other people. And the same applies because I want to be there, and sometimes I might be being there absorbing some emotion and things from people. I know that in order to do that, I have to look after my own health and my own resilience so that I can be there and do that. But it is difficult because as somebody who wants to help people, it's going to be difficult if somebody says, "Oh, could we do something at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon?" It's going to be difficult to say no, but I know that it's the right thing to say. That's time for me and for my for my family. But there's all these other times available.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So if you were chatting to somebody who was sitting on the fence perhaps about maybe doing the diploma, not doing the diploma, what would you say to them about it?
I would say it's an investment in yourself and go for it. The lifelong learning, being able to have if you're somebody who likes to feel as if you've achieved things, if you're somebody who wants to know more about what's going on in your own body, and the support and all the other people, look, right, everybody's there for the same reason. Sometimes in corporate life everybody's not quite got the same agenda,
Yeah.
whereas on the course everybody was there with the same agenda, and you're there with the same agenda, wanting and championing and supporting us to all get go along and achieve. And that's really nice to be part of that environment as well.
Amazing. Jo, it's been such a pleasure to catch up with you, and I look forward to kind of touching base over the coming months and seeing how things are going. But I wish you an amazing trip over to Australia, and I hope you have an amazing time. And look forward to catching up again soon.
Thanks, Lauren.